who came there to seek for services were stranded, especially as the accountant general department office. I saw some teachers who came there to rectify a mistake with their payslip, and a number of them who also came there to transact one or two businesses. And they were stranded because most of these people came far from Kumasi. Some came from Mankanso, some came from which is 2 hours drive from there to Kumasi, and they were stranded. They didn't know exactly what to do, whether they have to stay and see if they will vote for them. Maybe by the closer will call off their strike or not. So somewhere there after 1 o'clock, then they had to leave there disappointed. In fact, most of them were just telling the government to do what it should do so that these people will return to work for them to also be attended to. So today I would say the compliance is not 100%, but at least I can rate it to be 60% compliance. In fact, even in some of the offices at the ministry, we have some security personnel who have been positioned in front of the offices just to ensure full compliance. So when you come to work, they will not even allow you to open the office. They will tell you to return back home because the strike is in full force. So these are some of the things. And I also engaged the closer authorities here.
Okay, I'll come to them, but let's talk a bit about the workers. You were able to speak to a few of the workers who came in, whether they were defying or they just thought the strike wouldn't happen. You spoke with a bit of them. Did you discuss with them the bone of contention, which is this neutrality allowance, and how it looks in the general public, knowing what our laws say about neutrality for civil and local government workers, and the fact that we shouldn't even be paying them to be neutral? It's a requirement of their work.
Well, Dzifa, I can tell you it's a mixed reaction. In fact, there are people I even spoke to who are members of CLOSAC, and they do not find any reason for this neutrality allowance. In fact, some of them, I can say, deliberately defied the order to be at work, even though they tell me they were unaware of the strike. But you engage them further and they tell you they do not see any sense in this strike because the work they do, they are supposed to be neutral. They cannot, they know very well that they cannot contest for such positions. And for that matter, they cannot justify the neutrality allowance. Others who are saying, well, they are also Ghanaians and even per the law, they have that right to also contest if they so wish. So if they have been barred from doing such things, then they should be given some form of allowance to neutralize that bit. So it's kind of a mixed reaction. That's why I'm saying some of the people who came there, the engagement we did, I can say they deliberately defy that direction. And we have also some who came there with the hope that they do not have confidence in their leadership, because the last time they embarked on strike, which was even they seeking for their condition of service, it was a half day and the strike was called off, even though government did not address their concerns. So they thought that this one will also be like that. They believe that maybe by the close of the day, the same leadership will come back and say they should suspend the strike. So that's why some of them even came to work today.
Thank you very much. And that's Ibrahim Abubakar there. He's our correspondent in Kumasi, bringing us up to date. And we'll continue to see what happens next, because there's a meeting set for 3 o'clock. And we are told those who are going to be in the meeting, Engineer Dr. Nanatu Arthur, who is the head of the local government service, will be in that meeting, of course, with CLOSAC, as well as other stakeholders, in an effort to come to a resolution about this. But let's hear from some people in Kumasi about the impact of the strike on them as they sought to conduct business.
I'm here this morning to check on the controller there is problem on my payslip. I've been here for several times. This is about the seventh time that I've been here. But when I came this morning, they said they are on strike. So I don't know what to do right now. So I've been going up and down. I'm coming now from Mancranso. Look at the TNT involved, the inconveniences involved. And I didn't meet them, so I'm quite disappointed.
Basically, I came to the social welfare to make some few inquiries, and we got here this morning and we're told they are not working because they are basically on strike. Yes. Coming from a far distance just to make an inquiry and you can't be attended to, it's quite very bad. Yes. Wasting of resources. Yes. I think that our leaders should meet them at their point of their needs. Whatever that they want, they should help them out. Yeah.
And those were two people who went to conduct business in the Ashanti region, suburbs of Kumasi. Let's speak to our colleague, Lord Eduasare, who's also been on the beat of this all morning. So, Lord, I know earlier in the day you went to the Registrar General's and there wasn't much happening there. Tell us, where are you now and what's going on?
Because I'm currently at the Registrar General Department in Accra, and when I got here, you see at least cars parked in the lot and some pockets of people around. There's been a shed where normally you come and wait, especially if you want to get some service. And all that. A number of people have actually said that after interacting a number of them, I realized that many more others have left after they came, and then you realize that because of the cluster strike, no services to be rendered to them. That is why they came here to make inquiries, others came to get some registration, and several other businesses. And they were told that there's an impending strike, and so there will not be nothing to be done for them. And I also spoke to the PRO and people who said that their hands are tied. He was equally disappointed, but there's nothing they can do about it because as a member of the cluster association, they need to heed to the strike. And so this is going on. And in the morning I went to the ministry, and the story was not so different. There were very few people who live at the ministry. You only have several people around. This was when it was like half of the population were absent. The few people who spoke to me said that they were there because of their bosses and that they had to work closely with them to get things done. And some of the others were also service personnel and people doing their internship.
Now, I know that the Registrar General has these two main gates. Were they closed or they were open?
So one of the gates has been closed and the other has been open. But before you get to the premises itself, there's a large notice and it's indicated that they are on strike. I'm going to actually read it out for you to see what the notice is. It says that public notice. The management of the RGB wishes to inform its church clients that the department will be closed to the business community from Thursday in the 1st April 2022 until further notice. This is in compliance with the decision by the leadership of the civil and local government staff association, Ghana COSAC. Clients are advised to use our online portal for their business registration or dial the short code 422# to renew their sole proprietorship businesses. Any uncompromised cost is detailed signed by management.
It's interesting that they've given us some alternative options as well. So at least they are considerate of the fact that people may still need to do business, but you should do it online. Now, did you manage to engage anyone apart from those who came to do business and couldn't and obviously would be unhappy? Were you able to engage or identify any CLOGSAG members and the reason for this strike and the controversy the subject of the strike is brewing? Did you get anyone to speak to about that?
I actually saw one of the members in CLOGSAG at the material that here, so he actually directed me to the PRO of the Registrar General, Nicolas Gopuri, and he was telling me that yes, we need to hit with the General Association's decision because of the allowances which they need to be paid, and so that is done. no matter what happens, they can't do anything about it. And he understands that even where they are, the staff and the services they render, it involves a lot of money and all that. But once their allowance hasn't been catered for, there's nothing they can do than to continue the strike.
So for them, it's just an allowance. The name of the allowance is irrelevant or immaterial to them.
Yes, specific. They're saying that so I engaged in how come they want this allowance to pay them the Constitution says that, this is a not supposed to
engage in partisan politics.
Exactly. And I think she cited teachers being able to do otherwise, and cited some other examples and said that they didn't see the reason why members the Registrar General, for example, cannot indulge in something. So it's something that he had to be paid.
So he justified the reason why they had to be paid.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Lord Edwasare is my colleague there. He's been at the ministries this morning. He checked out the Registrar Generals. He went back there. He's been speaking from there this afternoon. The Registrar General's Department has, however, put a notice on their gates and their walls indicating that they're on strike. However, if you need to conduct business with them, then do so through their online portals or through their short codes. Well, this is all about, this 20% bump government wants to give workers in the civil and local government service. However, the issue is the name of this allowance, and we're told that it's going to be discussed. But there are questions about why we should even be considering stuff like a neutrality allowance. Well, we've been speaking with a private legal practitioner, Theophilus Jimaga, and he's been giving us his perspectives on this. He spoke with my colleague, Komla Adam.
The law which the Civil Servants Association and Local Government Association, closer for that matter, are contesting, that bars them from contesting public offices, holding political offices while still in office. If they look at the article they are contesting very well, it talks about the fact that for public interest. So the law is looking at a situation where the public interest overrides their interest. Now, if you decide to be a politician and still be a local government official or civil servant, just resign, as the law has stated. Now, there have been a number of Supreme Court rulings. Notable among them is the one where CLOSAC itself had gone to court with the Attorney General, the Office of the Head of Civil Service, and the Head of Local Government Service, where the Supreme Court held that one cannot be a member of the civil service and still hold a political office or contest elections. Now they are talking about neutrality allowance or loyalty allowance. Now, where does that one come from? The law, our Constitution is clear that any law that contravenes the Constitution to that extent of contravention is null and void. So where are they getting that neutrality and loyalty from that they want to impose on us?
Okay.
I found it a bit weird that they contend that the Ministry of Employment senior minister had sat down with them and had negotiated this allowance.
Okay.
It is my mind.
But they have argued, for example, that, the disparities when it comes to the salary structure of these civil servants and the politicals, properly so-called, is rather vast. And so as a measure to sort of bridge this gap and, just top up a little bit, give them a bump, they decided to raise it by 20%. It is just the nomenclature, the naming of it that particularly is raising concerns. You don't think perhaps if they must legitimize this, then there could be, an amendment to the existing law, for example, so this can be legitimized?
If we feel that there is a problem with the single spine salary structure, let us solve that. My investigations reveal that the CLOSAC particularly is fighting for this allowance because they felt that the others mentioned in Article 94 3B, the armed forces, the police, etc., are being paid this allowance. So since they have also been mentioned in that same article, they need to be paid that allowance. For example, they show that the fire service, the immigration service, the legal service, the Judicial Service, the Statistical Service, etc., are being paid this amount. So they also feel that they need that allowance to be paid. That cannot be the situation.
Okay.
Because according to the single spine salary structure, everybody is paid according to a certain structure. So if it is that structure that has a problem, let us correct it. But we cannot be paying something to say neutrality allowance. Neutral to us. Let us look at other jurisdictions. For example, in the UK, the civil service studies every political party's manifesto so as to advise the incoming government about the manifesto of Party A, Party B, and Party C. For example, if Party A wins and they feel that there is something from Party B's manifesto that could help with the growth of the economy of the country, they advise Party A leaders that this was in Party B's manifesto. Can you consider it? Those are the reasons why they need to be neutral in the first place. Right. Because you cannot go to an office which is a civil service office and you are told that I belong to political Party B. And since you belong to political Party B, Party A, I cannot attend to you. Then where lies the public interest for which the law was made?
And that's Theophilus Jimagan. He's a private legal practitioner there, giving us his perspective on what has become a controversial allowance, the neutrality allowance, so called, until it's changed. But let's speak to the National Labour Commission. The Executive Secretary, Mr. Ofosu Asamoah, joins us live. But it's not just because of this allowance. We are learning that organized labour is also threatening to organize a demonstration in the coming months because of low salaries. Let's now speak to him. Thank you very much, Mr. Asamoah, for joining us. Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, good afternoon.
All right, so first, Clocksack is on strike. Were you notified of this strike?
Clocksack is not on strike because yesterday we saw the flyers in the notice. Personally, I spoke to the executive and they said we have not canceled any strike for Clocksack members. Clocksack gave an indication of a possible strike beginning today. But the petition were attended to by the National Labour Commission. But for which, between yesterday and today, meetings are going on between Clocksack, the head of civil service, also the head of civil service, office of the head of local government service, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Employment, the Services and Salaries Commission, will play today and today. And one good thing, the case is before the commission. The commission sees with the matter and negotiations are going on. They are not supposed to be on strike. That is why the national executives are not cancelling any strike. It is some members of them who think that they are related to themselves the time to declare that strike. So I have spoken to them, so they call to their members to order. They cannot be on strike.
Mr. Asamoah, I know you did say this also yesterday on a different network. However, the truth of the matter is, as of today, we've done our checks in various parts of the countries. The workers will not do this if they didn't have the tacit approval of their leaders.
Yes, the workers are shown around already. And you see, if you listen to me in your sister speaking, when they said they have declared a strike and that they have the decree, I asked them to read the letter and check the date. And it was dated 5th April. So that was the time they sent the message on the commission, and there has been an intervention to solve the matter. Except that we use the blood pressure to all of its members. We are still holding on to the 5th April letter. So I hope by the close of today and tomorrow, they should be called to order.
So for those who went on the strike today, do they suffer any, action for doing this without their leaders' approval? That's the case.
Going strictly by the law, there should be some sanctions. But then, like I said, the news went down that there is a strike today, and when the commission had intervened, I'm sure there was a gap in the dissemination of information that yet the commission is seeing the matter. They are now meeting the finance minister and the team and government to solve the problem. So we are no longer going on the strike. That is what was not done. That is why people are resorting to the strike, I suppose. So when the intervention and the communication through the station and so on as to what is going on, I guess we need from tomorrow case for correct.
Do things look positive in reference to this allowance that is in contention? Because I understand government is willing to pay this amount. It's been agreed in a memorandum. However, the nomenclature of the naming is now beginning to cause problems.
Well, for now, the most important thing is if government is the employer has agreed to pay and is willing to pay, the name will not change the term. Right? Since the parties have agreed, they have appended their marks to it, and they are committed to honoring the terms of the agreement. It is not for you and I to go and say they should stop. Right? So we do not think the need will not take well if the public or we belong, we will not be party to this allowance. But then that is what the parties are choosing for themselves to guide them in their contract of employment or engagement. So I don't think it's something that we are very little or nothing to do about that.
Now, sir, we're getting information as of today from organized labor specifically, where the TUC's Secretary General, Dr. Yaoba, has indicated that there will be potential demonstrations in the coming months if government keeps saying that it cannot improve on salaries and conditions because of challenges with Ukraine and challenges brought on by COVID and the like. Is there any way to stem any further labor unrest, knowing that this has been said today?
Well, actually, we have not been giving any formality. And I'm just hearing from you what your advice is supposed to have said. That if it is so, and we are giving an indication of a possible labor unrest in the country, then as a commission, we have to rise up to the task with the powers of facilitating the settlement, meeting, and so on, to see what we can do to avert the possible labor unrest in the country. Thank you for informing me. I'll convey to the members of the commission that way.
All right, and finally, sir, I know that this year has seen a number of issues being thrown up. There was the UTAG strike that dragged a bit. There was a CERTAG strike and the anesthetist strike and so many others. We are not yet really halfway into the year. I mean, how can we forestall all this? Because it then disrupts, the way people do their work. It disrupts the ability for people to access services and the like. Is there anything further that we should be doing? Because it seems as if the concern is that the government is typically the employer, and they are the ones always subjected to the strike. And then we have to...
The point that you have mentioned are not strikes of this year alone. So if you go to say that we are not in the half in the year and all this has happened, and it's happening, the situation might be very new and alarming. But some of these strikes of the anesthetist, the UTAG and the doctors, some of these problems have been there for years. And we keep solving them, and new ones keep coming. So I don't think it's as really as, that's it. That will be resolved. And while we are solving, once we come, that is why we continue to remain the lesson.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Ofosu Asamoah. He is the Executive Secretary of the National Labour Commission. Now, let's hear from organized labor. Dr. Yaoba has been speaking today, and he has concerns about the poor salaries for workers, even though salaries were giving a 4% and 7% increase in salaries, but the salaries still remain low. Hence the concern that if government cannot do anything more because it says it's been hit by COVID, then it's been hit by the impact of the Russia-Ukraine war, there might be more demonstrations ahead. Let's hear him.
Inflation, exchange rate, and the low rate of pay increase have combined to really rape us of all what we have gained in the last several years. It is the time to address that. When we were negotiating minimum wage and single standard base pay in July 2021, inflation was 9%. Today, inflation is 19.4%. What has happened to the value of our money? It is completely eroded. But that is not all. If you look at the most important thing in the consumer price index, which is food, food price has gone up on average by 22.4%. And this is when they gave us 4% for last year and 7% for this year. And these are the conditions we have found ourselves in. And you know, it's very easy to blame the COVID and Ukraine for this. But listen, before Ukraine and COVID, the situation in Ghana was not too good, especially with employment. Therefore, nobody should hide behind COVID and Ukraine to say that Ghana is in this state because of these two events. We will not accept that this year. Therefore, what is due us will come to us. What is due us will come to us. So, you know, when we are talking about suffering, it is as if all Ghanaians are suffering. That is not the case. Some people are not suffering. Those who are suffering most are those on single span salary structure. The nurses, the doctors, the teachers, and other public servants. They are the ones suffering. About 700,000 are getting the lowest salary compared to others. When we got 4% and 7%, do you know there are some public sector institutions that got 25%, 30% increase? Because in this country, those who are earning low don't want to talk about it. Those who are earning high don't want to talk about it. You don't see it. But when you go into the data, you see some are suffering more than others. And those who are suffering most are those on the single span salary structure. And that must change this year.
And that's Dr. Yao. He is the Secretary General of the Trades Union Congress. But let's speak to one of his colleagues, the Deputy General Secretary of the TUC, Joshua Ansah. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Ansah, and thank you for some time on 3FM. My name is Dzifa.
Good afternoon, Dzifa, and good afternoon to your listeners.
Great. So I like the last part that Dr. Yao spoke, where he said it's not everyone in Ghana who is suffering. Those who are suffering are the public sector workers, like the doctors, the teachers, the lawyers, the doctors, the teachers, the nurses, and the like. I'm just wondering, which category of workers have received the 30% increases that he references, which is not or has not been applicable to those in public sector?
Thank you very much for that question. And I think that's said it all. After the 4% and the 7% for public sector pay, 2021 and 2022, some of the state-owned enterprises and corporate institutions negotiated the percentages of salaries like Dr. mentioned. And I don't want to go into specifics. The fact that is there, and if you want to know, you can research and find it out. But that is the fact on the ground.
Okay, the reason why I raise it is because, as much as I appreciate that you don't want to go into the specifics, there are certain state-owned enterprises that, you know, they have unique opportunities where they generate their own IGF. They have, you know, external forex that they source, partly because they sell to external partners, and then they are essentially running as businesses, and so maybe they can renegotiate a bump that is higher. So I'm just wondering, is it fair to make that comparison to public sector workers in that instance, who may not be generating maybe IGF to that kind of level?
Yeah, because I think that the question is straightforward. The thing is that we are not bothered about those who are genuinely getting enough revenue so that they can pay themselves better. What about the state institutions that are also making losses and paying themselves better? And the losses are paid by the citizens of this very country. You are aware of the report that came that some of the state-owned enterprises make losses, huge losses. But so when you look at the negotiations, they offer themselves higher percentages in salary. That is where we are coming from. But if you are an organization and you're able to raise your own internally instead funds and you think that it is the sweat of the workers and they are being compensated fairly, on the outside, as a labor union, as an activist, I cannot run down people who are getting better salaries and so on and so forth. All what we are saying is that what is good for the good must be good for the gander. That is where we are coming from. We must not be treated fairly. If somebody is making a lot and is able to negotiate a better salary for him or herself, what happens to those of us and a single spine pay structure? That is where we are coming from.
Okay.
If you look at the team for this year's May Day, we are saying that we are protecting jobs and incomes in the era of COVID-19 and beyond. So what can we do to protect jobs? What can we do to protect our income? This is where the angle we are coming from. So you can see that there are a lot of disparities in the salaries in this very country. Unless you bridge those gaps, there's no way that we can have a salary level for all of us. That's where we are coming from.
All right. Now, Mr. Ansah, in terms of these requests for additional or improved conditions of service, the view is that the 4% and 7% was certainly not good enough, and I think there's a general consensus that that is true. But the caution is, or the warning is, that we may see demonstrations if government continues to blame COVID and blame Ukraine. That is worrisome. That is worrisome. Is there no other way? Isn't the tripartite committee meeting? Is there no other way rather than put a fear of industrial unrest?
I think we have always been reasonable. We have always been understandable, and we have also negotiated in the spirit of tripartism, and we will continue to do that. It is expected that governments and employers must also sit up and also reason with us, because the situation is not as easy as people think. We are not threatening strike, we are not threatening. If we go to the negotiation table and we understand each other and reason with each other, I mean, that is the cause for negotiation or something. All what we are trying to say is that this is the time for all of us to be together and share our suffering together and share our joy together.
What is the sense you're getting from government about the improved conditions for public sector workers? Because I know that there was a review of the 4 and the 7% proposed by the Labour Minister. Where are we on that?
Can we come again, because I didn't get the question?
Sorry, I was saying that I know that sometime earlier at the Labour conference. Yes, at the Labour conference, the Labour Minister indicated that they were willing to improve on the 4 and the 7%. Has that taken effect, or that hasn't happened yet?
We are now starting the process, because we mentioned so many issues and raised so many concerns about the review of the Labour Act itself, the review of the salary structure itself, and the reasonable pay increase for workers. We are now beginning with the technical committee. I mean, the last week or so, the technical committee had its first meeting, and we have set up the technical committee to go into the details. So I think the process has just begun. And this is just to send a signal to the government that we are not happy about what happened in 2021 and 2022, and government employees must do everything in their wisdom to ensure that there's relatively peace, and each and every worker in this country is treated equitably and fairly.
Okay, now today CLOGSAG is on strike over 20% allowance they had agreed in January, but as of April, government has reneged. Now the name of the allowance has also generated controversy. It's termed a neutrality allowance, but we're being told that the nomenclature is being looked at. There's a concern that if we acknowledge that public sector workers are not properly paid or not motivated enough, then it means there's rather a problem with the single spine salary structure. We should rather fix that instead of creating all sorts of new and unconscionable allowances in a bid to give public sector workers a bump. Is it time to look again at the single spine salary structure and ensure that there is fairness and uniformity?
Excellent question and excellent discussion and excellent suggestion. This is exactly what we want to be done, because as it is now, the single salary structure was intended
to be a panacea to our woes, but it has turned to be rather negative. That is why at the Labour Conference we call for a total overhaul of the single spine to ensure that it becomes a fair sector for workers in this very country. So I think it's a very brilliant suggestion that we have made, that we need to look at it again and ensure that the structure or the spine is made in a way that it's very positive for all of us.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Joshua Sam, much appreciated. And yes, May Day is coming up soon, and a lot of the time when May Day comes, the TUC, they do all their things. They fire up the workers, fire up the base, and if they say they will go on strike, then we'll be in trouble. So that's why we need to step in and urge that they don't do that. Well, the issue of the strikes, as said by the Labour Commission, according to the Labour Commission, there is no strike. However, the reality on the ground is very much different, and we've checked in Accra, Kumasi, we've been in the northern region as well, western region. A lot of the offices have just simply shut, and it's even worse in the regions, because the truth is, in the regions, the civil and local government service staff are really the ones that run the show. In Accra, it's not so obvious sometimes, because you have all these quasi-government institutions that also commingle with civil and local government services. So you go here, they are working, they are not caught up in this. You go to another place, they are closed and all that. So we'll continue to bring you more updates on what's been happening on the strike. So tune in at 5:30 for Hot Edition, where we'll bring you the latest on how this has gone. We'll bring you more news, of course, on TV. So tune in to TV3 for News 360 at 7 for the latest on that as well. But that's where we end our show this afternoon. Many thanks to all of you for making some time with us. Thanks to my producer, Cyril Dogbe. Many thanks to Selwyn Ofori, our social media manager. And thanks to Stephen for in-studio technical production. I'm Dzifa Bampoh. I'm back again on Monday. Tomorrow, you will have Nancy Vokania for First Take. Enjoy the rest of